On this team, we fight for that itch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that itch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for MattieC Sports for you and me.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
In my previous life as a hockey enforcer, I spent most of my time in the penalty box, slugging it out the old-fashioned way, bare knuckle brawling. But eventually it took its toll. It was emotionally draining, physically draining, obviously, and spiritually draining. It wasn't fulfilling, and eventually I had to bow out of the game and embarked on this quest of holism. Cote culture is self-care therapy, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness.
No organization actually helps you heal. No, they patch. They patch you back together, but they never help you heal. You're gonna get to a point to where your pain is so great, you're gonna lack sleep. And then if you lack sleep, you're gonna go to something else because you're gonna need to sleep. I was like, I can't find no free relief, but I can't retire. You know what I'm saying? So I think our future, don't just listen to us. I don't care who's listening to this. Don't just listen to us. I think the future of history is education. You gotta go back. I started learning about these creams and the cannabinoids and how it breaks down and oh my gosh, and how it triggers these systems and that. And I'm like, what the freak? Like, why don't they give us this? Why don't they teach us this? I think it's a movement that a lot of athletes, planned and not planned, need to have a full historical education run through of it all. Because if they don't, I'm telling you, they're majority don't make it. And that's the harsh reality.
It is a harsh reality, you're right.
And why he started the company. The harsh reality is a large percentage, they're gonna do a lot of things to themselves to try to relieve pain. If you 45 or older, and you say hemp, you say weed.
Yeah.
That's the first thing out your mouth. Oh, that's weed.
I demonize an herb because you don't understand it, you're ignorant. But then you have no
But
problem
you're promoting
signing up.
lemonade Sprite.
Yeah, exactly. You have
Way to kill me.
No problem sucking down high fructose corn syrup and making no connection to what substance is, right? I mean, their whole life has been ego driven, right? It's been, everybody knows them for who they are on the field or the ice, and all of a sudden that comes to an end, and now it's like you got to be a productive member of society, you know what I mean, and do real things, and live in the real world. And guys struggle with that because they don't know who they are. And I mean, the more you can spread this, the better you feel. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you have some definitive purpose. And I think for me, getting into this world has helped me find a new identity and a purpose. Like I forget even I played sports some days. You know what I mean? That I even did that because I'm kind of over myself in that. You know what I mean? Or I've like got a new purpose, and it's helping people find sustainable tools to manage the daily grind of life.
All right, everybody. Welcome to MattieC Sports for you and me. It's the return of the enforcer / yoga specialist, Riley Cote. This guy has a million things on his projects. Very good person. He's been on my show before. He is the co-host along with his homeboy, Derek Settlemyre, and just talk to him. What a funny dude. He must be cool to talk to him all the time.
Yeah, Nasty's he's a beauty. He's one of my good buddies, and I mean, he's got a incredible memory. He pulls out stories out of his ass like in the moment, and the exact time, and the exact day. It's pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, he's a really good dude. Makes me laugh, and he keeps it light.
Yeah, we were talking about Wayne Simmons actually, and he almost told me his skate size almost.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, like you said, he's very intelligent with this stuff. So been crazy playoffs, huh? With Tampa Bay and New York and Vegas and Montreal.
Yeah.
I'm shocked at that series, man. I mean, I thought it was going to be a blowout 4-0 series, and Montreal is just showing a whole different light in the playoffs. It's just unreal with Cole Caulfield, and he's just a beast. And I think he like put a spark in that team. So
I agree.
I mean, what do you think of that series? It's just out of it, like, because me, Riley, like, I thought Vegas is just, they were so fast in the last couple of series they were in. Like, I wouldn't think anybody would catch up to them. And then they, I mean, they're still playing good hockey. It's just after game one, they just started playing a lot different. So, what do you think of that series going on right now?
Well, I think overall the playoffs has been incredible for a hockey fan. I mean, you're not gonna find almost better playoffs than this year. You know, I never thought Montreal would have. I mean, gotten this far, let alone staying in the in the series. But I mean, they got some young, like you mentioned. Caulfield, and they got some young guys, and they got goaltending, and they got a recipe for, some playoff success. So I'm not overly surprised, but in saying that, I thought Vegas would have been, taking that away a little bit quicker. But geez, I mean, incredible in their series too. I mean, Tampa and the Islanders. I mean, it's just, you're not going to script any better playoffs. So. I still think I got Tampa on that one, but only because of experience. But Islanders, kind of like Montreal, keep proving people wrong. So who knows? I mean, it's just been incredible playoffs all around, and I just love going back to Montreal. Just got so you got some young guys there that just kind of kind of find ways to generate momentum and create sparks, like you said, and. Adding a guy like that in playoffs, it reminds me of like back when I first joined the Flyers organization in 04-05 when we had the previous lockout, and we got Jeff Carter and Mike Richards for our playoffs, and we were already a good team to begin with, and then you add elements like that, and Carts led the AHL in scoring in playoffs, so obviously. He's not necessarily doing that, but you add a skill guy like that, an energy guy like that to your lineup, and he's only getting more confident. So, it's just been overall amazing playoffs. As a hockey fan, you should be excited what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, other guys like Suzuki, he's just a whole nother realm, and the physical game in Vegas I haven't really seen it since the first and second game. When you're going up against Ryan Reeves, I mean, Jesus, like that dude is a massive beast. Like he's just a whole nother, like, and he's not even an enforcer, but if he needs to throw down, he will. And that game where Alec Martinez the other day and that nice crisp pass and he just blasted it away. It just reminded me of Game 7 when he was playing for the Kings and he blasted one home. Well, actually, I think he was on a break that time when he shot it past Lundqvist to win the cup. They have the veteran players. I mean, Montreal has Stahl. I mean, they have veteran guys in there that can support these guys. And what a goal last night by, I believe his name was Nicholas Roy. He had a nice beauty last night. And Pollock with that save from New York, and like just a lot of crazy stuff happening. That reminded me of, I'm from Boston, so like seeing Michael Ryder make that save back in 2011 in front of the net. It was like, it's like bringing back memories. And I don't know, during your play, did you ever play at Nassau? Like is it a crazy place to play in New York?
I didn't get a chance to experience it in regular season, preseason, so it wasn't quite the same vibe. But it seems to be rocking.
Yeah, exactly.
I think anytime you get to where you are in playoffs, in say a larger market, hockey organization, like the fans, everything's is gonna improve. And I look at those types of fans, like they do have some understanding of the hockey game, right? I mean, versus like somewhere maybe, not that Tampa doesn't necessarily, but you know, there's just more entertainment for them. But you know, the hockey markets that actually have true fan base based on actual knowledge of hockey, it just playoffs, it just ramps it up. You know, it's a different dimension of energy. So. But you know, look at Montreal. I mean, obviously, like you look at Vegas, like they're not a real true hockey market, but they sell entertainment. So they're, you know, obviously that place is gonna be rocking. But Montreal, I mean, man, that's what Canadians live for, and you know, and the playoff hockey and just get pumped up. But yeah, it's a different dimension of energy when you get into the playoffs, let alone getting it deeper into the playoffs. It's just the whole city, the whole environment kind of supports you, and you just kind of feed off that energy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, they're playing with 3,500 fans in there compared to Vegas is like 20,000.
Right.
Like,
I know it's not even fair.
The guys that are in Montreal are getting like a boost from that small fan entry in the arena. And Montreal, I have a podcast I deal with that they're good guys, and they're just all Montreal, you know. And like you said, fan bases are different, you know. Like some fan bases, I'm not going to say the fan bases, but some of them, you know, they look up at the board and they tell you to say let's go, where compared to, you know, Philadelphia, they don't need that. They're just they're just all heart. Boston, same way. We don't need a teleprompter to tell us to say go Bruins or you guys go Flyers. Like, and you know, like you said with like New York, it's like they haven't been rocking like that since probably the 80s. Like since they were when they were a powerhouse. Yeah. And I mean, it makes you feel good when, you know, like in Philadelphia or Boston, you feel like you're a part of a team that like you need to play every night, and the fans will let you know that we don't want you there. So yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy.
It's like the culture, the culture of these cities, right?
Yeah, the cultures are just in like the team I just said.
You kind of cut out there a little bit, but I was just saying the culture of the cities of like the.
Yeah,
there's a delay happening right now.
Yeah, I can see. Can you see me now or hear me the correct way? Am I cutting out?
I can see you. Yeah, I can see it. It was just the delay on like when I was talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you were talking about the culture. I was hearing you. So
yeah, the culture of the city kind of integrated the culture of the hockey team itself, where, you know, like these blue collar cities, like all they want is like, you know, an honest effort and, you know, showing up every night, win or lose, you know, and they can kind of relate to that. And like you said, they're cheering on the teleprompter telling them, or, you know, some jumbotron type of getting them excited, because all they want is, you know, see that passion and see that effort that, you know, they should expect, right? They're spending a lot of money on these tickets. You know, it's tough to watch a team show up and not have any heart.
Right. And teams actually do build off of that. And I know, you know, that even in AHL too, like there's some big fans down there too. You know, when the Sharks were here in Worcester, they had a big fan base. Like they could care less about the Bruins, and they would watch these teams. Like, and I'm sure in your eyes too, there were fans, and when you were playing for the Phantoms, that like they loved you guys, and it didn't matter if you played for the Flyers. There was still that heart, just like you said.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yep.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing. So
yeah, no, for sure. And in Philly, like when I was playing in Philly with the Phantoms, when I first came in the organization, we were still with the Spectrum, and you know, the price point of American Hockey League hockey is certainly a much better for a, a family of 4 or 5 than NHL hockey, right? So it's one of those things where it's very competitive. Most of these guys could play in the NHL. It's just a matter of numbers, and there's a little bit more spirit sometimes in the American Hockey League. The fans love it, and there's more access to the players. There's more of a connection between the player and the community and the fan. So naturally, in larger markets, it works. But yeah, I mean, some of these fans that I grew up in the American Hockey League around. I mean, they were as good as a fan as any, and they kind of are there to support you as you move on to the next level, because they're just passionate about hockey and the Flyers as an organization, not so much just the bigger club.
Yeah, and I saw it in the game I went to in Philly. I mean, the fans were booing their own team because they weren't playing well. I believe I told you that story.
Yeah.
But just the atmosphere around Wells Fargo when a game goes on, and when you go outside, it was snowing that day too, and they had the who was that? There was a woman who sang God Bless America. That was around your time too.
Yeah,
Philly. I forget her name. They had a statue for her and they took it away.
Yeah, right. Is it I'm drawing a blank. I should know this. God, oh my God.
Finally got a question that you can't answer for.
Yeah,
right
I do know the answer, and I should know the answer on the spot here. I'm drawing a blank now, because right now it's Lauren Hart that sings the national anthem, and it was yeah, I know, it was the jolly old lady there that they had the statue there forever, and then all of a sudden it got wrapped up in a bunch of political garbage of her being racist or something,
right? Yes,
back in the 50s or something. Who the hell is it? Yeah, we got to figure this out by the end of the show.
Yeah, we'll definitely figure it out. So back to the playoffs. I mean, what do you think about the switch from Robin Leonard to switching out Fleury?
I was a little bit surprised, I was a little bit surprised. I thought they were just going to go with Fleury, right? I mean, I think Leonard's had a little bit of an up and down year with some concussion issues and some injuries and stuff like that. I don't know how healthy he is. Obviously healthy enough, but in saying that, you look at Leonard's numbers. He's got some of the best numbers within the goaltending across the NHL. I mean, this guy, he just gets criticized a lot, because he speaks out a lot, and his mental health stuff. He's an easy target. But I mean, if you look at his numbers and you look at his performance, he's not a sexy goaltender by any means, but he somehow gets it done. So they're in a good position. You got 2 guys going now. It's like, when I was the question is, like, you go into Game 5 and make who you go with, but I don't think you can make a wrong decision on that one. It was huge for him to come in and play like that, and letting 1 goal, which is breakaway, which is pretty, just one of those goals. You just like you're going to give up one. It's a goal you give up. To me, he's got the right attitude. He guy shows up 4 hours before games and is dialed in, and is okay with being a backup, and is a good relationship with Fleury. So, I mean, I don't think you can make a bad decision at this point. But if I'm a coach, I think you just gotta kind of go with, obviously go with your gut feeling. But I mean, Fleury's kind of been the guy they've been going with. So, I mean, are you going to get 2 big games of him back to back when he hasn't played a whole lot? I don't know the answer to that, but knowing that you have a guy that you can feel comfortable putting in and feel confident that he's going to win you a game is a good problem to have. Now they got a good problem to deal with, but it's one of those things. It's like you could put Fleury and he could shit the bed, but but just based on consistency and track record, I don't see that being the case. So I don't know. They're in a good position.
I just think when a lot of people don't go force back into a player's career, but I mean, like with Leonard, he played for a really tough team in a tough time with Buffalo, but he was a really good goalie at that time. And he was making unbelievable saves to like he didn't have the support of his forwards or his defensemen at the time. And then he goes to Chicago where they relied on Crawford and him, and it was the same thing. But when he comes to Vegas, he kind of had a different outlook. And I think his mental health stuff has always probably been a problem, but it was more fluent in Buffalo and Chicago, and especially in Buffalo, because what is there to do in Buffalo, honestly, besides drink and do whatever?
That's it.
So like with him in Vegas, is just like, I mean, that's a real test to him, like, because, you know, alcohol and stuff is everywhere. So for what he's doing is very impressive to me. And with Marc-Andre Fleury, he's like, I heard he's just like he's like your captain, but he just is everywhere for looking out for every single player who comes in, even if it's the little guy who's just fresh off the ice in AHL or lower. You know, they're all good people in the NHL from what I see. I don't really see any angry people, but you know, everybody talks about the Tom Wilson incident, but I liked how you and Nasty and Stock were talking about it. And, you know, Stock said, you know, nobody sees the true angles, like every angle of that moment. They didn't see, you know, Patterson trying to jump in, and you don't see a player behind you. So it could be anybody behind you, but it just happened to be Panarin, and that was the result. But I mean, that was way back. So I liked how you guys broke it down and stuff like that. And, you know, him talking about Nasty being a gnome, but I think he'll get revenge on that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I mean, you know, it's such a fast game, and to break it down, clip frame by frame, and just be like super, you know, analytical about it. It just removes like the essence and the spirit of the moment, which is there was a fractions of seconds, and guys are jumping on you, and you know, it's kind of like fight or flight, and you're in a moment where you're defending yourself. You know, it's just one of those situations. But going back to Leonard there. I 100% agree with you. You know, being in Buffalo the last how many years has been a shit show, so it's not good for any goaltender's confidence or mental well-being, probably. I think he has had so much potential, and there's been a lot of blockages in his life and his career, and they obviously go hand in hand. You know, when you're not being able to, you know, manage some of these things that affects performance, you know, on his performance and whatever else, but. I think he's slowly been growing into, you know, the true potential that he had. And when he got to Vegas eventually, not saying that there's no pressure. It's different kind of pressure. It's not, you're not in a larger market like Buffalo, as shitty as they've been. You know, it's still a lot of pressure in Buffalo because it's almost like a Canadian market city. Chicago too, there's high expectations. I don't think there was a ton of expectations going to Vegas as a hockey team. You know, them going to the finals the first year and then having actually a really legitimate team. Going to a situation where he's going in as a backup, and I think he signed out at a 4-year extension there after last season. Mm-hmm. So he's really growing into his own. I think he's been able to manage his mental health stuff. Therefore being able to be a better performer or more consistent performer, which it's all about consistency. And he's probably been able to just maintain the numbers. I mean, even the shitty seasons he's had on teams, he still actually, you mentioned, had really good numbers, and he still does. So, I mean, to me, he's still finding himself and growing. And from what I understand, he's a leader on that team, and he's got a good relationship with Fleury, which is an amazing thing. Amazing thing to have as a 1-2 combo. So they're in a good position there, and if he doesn't play, I know he'll have a good attitude, and just know that just like the way the cookie crumbles. But you said it. I mean, he's come a long way, and you gotta respect him for fighting the demons and coming out on top, because a lot of guys wouldn't sign a 4-year extension after all the shit he's been through and how vocal he's been about it, and props to him.
Yeah, I mean, he is a big advocate for people for mental health issues, and it's probably not been an easy road considering going on the road and off the road and, really struggling with that. I can't even imagine. And then you got to go into a high pressure situation such as the playoffs. And, like you said, I mean, he played well last night. I think he did. And I mean, it went to overtime. So, I mean,
Yeah, right.
That's the other thing too that I found funny was a lot of people are mad in Montreal for, Pacioretty coming to town. And it's like, dude, this guy fucking led you to so many things, like great things, that guy.
Yeah.
And Carey Price he's just an animal. Like, I may be a Bruins fan, but I know hockey and I know the talent and skill that Carey Price has. It's just like astronomical. And you can't expect the guy to make 70 fucking saves against you when he's getting like 40 shots on net on him.
Yeah.
And if they get one in, you're going to be pissed about that. Like, get out of here with that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you got to be a little more reasonable with your expectations.
Oh, and that woman's name is Kate Smith.
Kate Smith, yeah. I just found it. Yeah, Kate Smith, yeah. Oh, my God.
But yeah, so I remember talking to you too a while back when the season first started, and me and you were talking about, the Flyers and, the first line with Voracek and all that stuff. And I was talking about the Bruins, and you said your team isn't that bad. But I say, like, when we played you guys in Lake Tahoe, like, obviously the Bruins had a good day that day, but going into the latter part of the season, they were slouching. They were just weak. They weren't playing that well, and they snuck into the playoffs, I think. And they didn't have a good the last series with the Islanders was great, but my God, like, they were just so physical. Their fourth line was just producing like nobody's business. So I think the Islanders could take the Lightning if they play smart. I just you got to watch Kucherov. You got to watch Stamkos because he's deadly, and their goalie's not that bad either. So I mean, they all concentrate on Matt Barzal, but there's so many people besides him who can put the puck in the net and pass the puck. So
yeah,
it should be a good series finishing out. And Montreal, I'm kind of weary about. I'm still going on the Vegas route of that. But what are you thinking on that?
I'll just go back on your comment on Boston. I think, like, I forget how many games the Flyers played Boston there that Boston had won. And every time we talk about the Flyers,
it was 8. And
it was something silly. But it's the same two. It's Marchand and Bergeron, right? I mean, it's like, and then I think Pasternak the one game, but it's like, and you go in the playoffs, it's like, to your point, like, they just didn't have enough depth outside of those, a couple guys there that, you weren't able to sustain them. And I think that's where the Islanders have depth. Obviously Tampa has depth, and then the other two teams have depth, but you can't just rely on, two guys always scoring the goals, 2-3 guys always scoring the goals. You got to score by committee. You look at the teams that have won Stanley Cups, the fourth line has contributed some big goals always, right? Just the way it is. Yeah, I think both these series could go either way.
Oh yeah,
I think they both have the ability to win. Is that they might both go 7. It's going to be one of those things. It's just like, because they're just so competitive. There's so much skill, and there really is toughness. I say on all these series, there's toughness. You look at teams, like, as far as NHL goes in the modern day era, you're not going to find 4 tougher teams all round. You know what I mean? I'm not saying tough like Broad Street Bullies, but like, you go through Montreal's lineup, you got Corey Perry, you got Weber, you got some scrappiness there. You can say the same thing. Well, I know Ryan Reeves wasn't in the lineup, but you got some scrappiness there. You look at, obviously, Islanders with Martin and the Maroon, and Tampa. You got some, like, got some guys that can not that's like the name of the game, but there is, like the friction is there. Like that first series or the first game with Montreal and Vegas, like, I think every whistle in the first period was a scrum.
Yeah,
that was that's like necessary or needed, but like, you know, there's friction. Like there's friction. They hadn't played each other. And, you know, that's just like the piss and vinegar that you want to see in playoffs, you know, and you know, and that grunt work and that, you know, that just like that, just that passion, you know. And I think that just going back to how we started this is like, you're not going to find a better playoffs than this year, in my opinion.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. There's just been a lot of, you know, whether it's just frustration and, you know, whether it's COVID related and, you know, playing teams over and over and over again, especially in playoffs, the first couple of series playing, there's just been a lot of, you know, emotion that's been built up throughout the half season here and throughout this last year has been interesting, probably psychologically on some of these guys, but for whatever reason, it's just been, there's been in my opinion, just a lot of, you know, just a lot of passion in these playoffs from all these teams.
And I can agree with you absolutely. And Matt Martin, he the other day when he was ready to scrap, I was like, damn, like he's ready to go. Like he's got so much adrenaline, and I respect him just because he's not like the superstar, and he's not like a terrible player. He's just a guy who is just ready to go no matter what. It's like he's fighting for a spot on the team, and he really doesn't have to. He's been in the league for years.
Yeah.
And it's funny, they had a video of this guy. He barely was in the league that long, and Matt Martin says, what do you say? He's like, oh, well, like, oh, go back to the minors. And Matt Martin goes, you've been in the minors longer than me, you dumb fuck.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, I love the stuff that like that these guys have so much passion, and like, you know, they think, they look at other people's stats too. They think of people's, like, they wait to piss somebody off before the game or whatever. But, you know, I was also watching a video of you when somebody wanted to scrap with you, and then one punch he was down. I was like, holy shit. I'm glad he's in the yoga business now.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed to calm down a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the playoff series are going well, and I think it's going to be a good one. And I'm not one to predict the future. I just would want to see Vegas play the Islanders. I think it would be an old school versus new school matchup. I would like to see that. And I already saw Tampa win last year. So, I mean, that's just a hockey fan's point of view. I mean, I'm sure you're the same way. Like, you can't just predict the future. But either way, whoever makes it into the Stanley Cup Finals is going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. It's not going to be a disappointment either way. But, you know, me being from Canada, and, you know, I think there's just like having a Canadian team still rocking, and, you know, there's some good storylines within that team. Not that there's not with Vegas. I'd like to see Montreal get into the final just because I think they've been the underdog, and you know, I like to see Carey Price have some success, and some of these younger guys. I just love a good storyline to a season. That being said, I mean that's not going to necessarily carry the rest of the way, just having a good story. But you know, I think just for me, I love both teams, so I mean I wouldn't be disappointed either way. But I would like to see Montreal get in, just as a Canadian, and just you know, maybe to lift Canada's spirits right now, because I know it's pretty shitty terrible, up there, man. Yeah. It's pretty shitty up there, you know, and you know, maybe that could help loosen up the tension, if you will. But that's just, you know, my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what the over/under was before that series even started for Montreal.
Right.
I wonder what would be. Yeah. I wonder how much money I would have won.
2-2 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So off to hockey, like what I know you're like, you got, I don't even know how you do it, man, with all the scheduling you have and all the things you do. What's in store? Like, what do you got going on with wellness and your new line you were telling me about, and you know, friggin' everyday life, man. You're a walking schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most people are, you know, just really busy with their jobs, and you know, I guess I'm fortunate enough to kind of embody my entrepreneurship, if you will. And then I feel like I'm at the point now I'm kind of piecing things together. But you everything I do is under the umbrella of wellness, right? And it's mental wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness. But, you know, I got the hemp derived CBD and functional mushroom company, Body Check Wellness. And that's just, you know, like, you know, it's a business, right? But it's supplementing, right? It's just like a piece of the puzzle. You know, I'm actually this weekend coming up as my last yoga teacher training. So I'll be wrapped up this 7-month course, which I've always been really passionate about yoga as, you know, the taking action of, you know, of your life, right? It's like where you become accountable for, you know, your own well-being, and, you know, you engage in this daily practice. So becoming a teacher, I wasn't exactly sure when I got into it, like how I was going to piece this in to the puzzle. And I'm realizing more and more that what I'm going to be doing with the yoga, you know, people think of just like, you know, yoga is like physical exercise. Well, there's much deeper than that. There's a philosophy behind it. There's a way of life behind it. But there's a lot of similarities to plant medicine, psychedelics specifically. So I think the idea is to use the yoga as the vehicle, and then, you know, the integration of, say, psychedelic experiences or plant medicines. Could be just cannabis, but, you know, it could be psilocybin mushrooms, it could be ayahuasca. But at the end of the day, yoga is integration. So the physical practice of yoga is, well, you know, paired with the philosophy of yoga. And what yoga really teaches, the essence of yoga, is essentially the same thing as what a psychedelic would teach, and that is, they're both paths back to the heart. You know, I think we you know, become so wrapped up in the thinking mind that we no longer are able to feel or be intuitive and tap into intuition and just be and feel and find the present moment and find peace in our heart. So it's for me, what I'm kind of building now is integrating the yoga with psychotherapy and psychedelics, and started building out that model before it becomes legal, and it really lands up being, you know, an integration of all things. So the yoga is kind of like what you're gonna get into pre, you know, psychedelic experience, or with or without the psychedelic experience. It's like you got to do the work no matter what. So
exactly,
you're gonna go and do the psychedelic experience and have no plan, no integration plan, and then you come back, and then the psychedelic experience just lands up being a memory. It's like, wow, that was a pretty cool experience, and I learned a lot. I downloaded a lot of information, but I didn't take any action. And the only way to take action is to have some sort of formal practice, and that's where the yoga piece comes in. So that's kind of like the glue of all of it. So you got the hemp-derived CBD functional mushrooms, you got the, you know, the psychotherapy, you know, yoga piece, which to me is like the core piece that I'm putting together. And then I have like I'm an advisor and investor in Wake, which is a psilocybin mushroom company out of Jamaica. So that it all kind of glues together. And that's kind of what I'm working on. And then outside of that, I'm also, I'm one of the founders of a company called Advanced Alchemy, where we're building an extraction facility and lab at a state university here in Pennsylvania called Cheney University. So we're building out a soil to oil cannabinoid curriculum, and then building out the extraction facility and lab, all kind of combined with the university. So that piece will play into this as well, as part of the integration, is just finding tools that are anti-inflammatory, finding tools that are, you know, anti-anxiety. You know what I mean? Because it's all, you know, all the teachings of it all is about managing stress and managing anxiety, promoting good night's sleep, but also moving the body, right? We gotta remove energy blocks. We gotta move, because people forget that we can't just stay stationary and think that we're going to be well. So there's all these pieces, but they're all kind of connected. So again, yoga and plant medicine, whether it's yoga and hemp or CBD, or yoga and cannabis THC, or yoga and psychedelics, whatever shape or form, there's integration in it all. So it's all kind of all pieced together.
And that's awesome that I like the fact you were saying during that about how you're branching out to a local university in Pennsylvania, like to correspond with your stuff going on. And that's super cool to me. Like, you know, you're bringing it to a university to educate not only them, but eventually you're going to educate a lot more people into what you're going through. And you know, anti-anxiety, and, you know, people don't understand, like, as you said, you can't sit around, you got to move, or you're just going to stay depressed, or you're going to have anxiety. You just need to keep on moving and get some sunlight and don't be watching TV all day, because it's just going to make you worse.
Yeah, that's part of the self-discipline, right? I mean, yoga is a practice of self-discipline, right? And life is, I mean, essentially a practice of self-discipline if you play your cards right. And if you don't, you become a victim, you know? And I think that's kind of removing that victim mentality and empowering people. And then there's other stuff that, you know, that you have to address too, that some stuff that you can't control in your life that, you know, it's always goes back to trauma, whether it's the big T trauma, you talk about rape, war, you know, violence and extreme stuff, or the small T, but it's all trauma at the end of the day. And the small T trauma could be, you know, your mom or dad, you know, getting really mad at you, and there's like a memory that, you know, you've now emotionalized that's kind of sitting with you. So, and then this just happens over time in life. It could be a teacher, you know, all these little traumas that occur, and then they kind of create your personality. But then eventually, they could create your personality in a negative way, and you kind of start taking on these behavior patterns that aren't necessarily positive, right? Negative thinking, emotionalizing past memories, getting into the thinking mind, blah, 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 revenge, you know what I mean? All this stuff, instead of like going back to the heart, like I said earlier, is like forgiveness and compassion and addressing the traumas. I think psychedelics help address trauma, you know, make sense of trauma, because the trauma has already happened. You can't go back in time and fix it. The only time you can fix it is in the present moment. And that's just like by addressing it and being realistic with it. It's like, okay, well, you know, it's like that person hurt me. What am I going to do? Am I carry this baggage the rest of my life, or am I going to find forgiveness in it all? I'm not saying that what they did is right, but you got to find forgiveness so you can like move on with your life, because they're not suffering. You're suffering because of what happened. And you know, I think that's just like all these things together is moving energy along, moving blockages along, even in a yoga practice. If you ever gone deep into yoga, but like there's certain poses that you get into, and then you have like a memory that comes out. It's kind of like cleansing, you know, some emotional blockages. You're like, oh, you know, you start motherfucking this pose. It's like, well, where's this coming from? You know what I mean? This is like releasing something that needed to get released. You know what I mean? And the same things happen, and maybe on a grander scale in the moment with the psychedelic experience, is that it's pushing out energy, it's pushing out, you know, past memories, and, you know, you're finding peace in them all. But that's what we have to do, because we all got trauma, you know, one way, shape, or form. We do, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. We just got to be honest with it, and you know, and address it, and with no judgment, and you know,
and I agree
deep there with it all. But
I agree. There's so many different ways. It's like the overthinker happens, you know, something, a suppressed memory that could have happened 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, like today, when I'm talking to you right now, boom, it all of a sudden happens. It happens, you know, and people need to realize that there's ways such as yoga, such as, you know, even going for a bike ride, or just getting your mind off of stuff instead of stewing in your own sorrows, that could really benefit for your well-being and your staying healthy and eating right, and in nutrition. And you know, me and you were talking about that a while back, and it's a good thing to steadily balance yourself with nutrition, proper sleep, and all that good stuff. And I'm glad all your different ventures are working out, man. And it's always good talking to you about hockey. So what's up next for Nasty Knuckles?
Yeah, we're just going to keep grinding. You know, we're going to obviously keep the standard once a week pod going, but we got some different events coming up throughout the summer, end of summer. We've got a ball hockey tournament, golf tournament, and some, you know, local activations. So I think we're going to get more involved in the community and do more, you know, with COVID this year. And we just wanted to focus on the pod and get the groundwork laid out. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to, especially early on in 2021 here, to really do anything, you know, within the public and community because of COVID restrictions. So we're going to kind of start getting a little bit more creative with some of our sponsors and some of the stuff we're doing. But other than that, just say keeping it Philly centric, but I think going into next season, obviously the playoffs now and the Flyers not being a part of it, is expanding outside of the Flyers. And getting more, you know, into all things NHL. So, you know, some of our guests will probably be more, you know, outside of the organization and whatnot. But I just figured we start with with our neck of the woods here, with the network that we have with the alumni and and the Flyers here. So just start there and build out. So that's kind of where we're at right now, is building out from the groundwork that we've laid and expand.
Yeah, when you get that old school Philly player who plays now for Toronto, let me know.
Yeah, right. I will.
So yeah, thank you so much, Riley, for coming on the show. And I did have something funny on Settlemyre show, and I'll tell you too. So I know you've probably seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was listening to Stock with you guys, Stock sounded exactly like Charlie Day from Always Sunny. It was like a clear, like exact voice, and it was just hysterical. And
he's a character.
I got to talk to that guy, man. He's a Bruin. I should.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Serious battles as a Bruin.
Yes. And I remember him going like this after a fight.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, now it came back to fruition. Like the memory we were just talking about, a 10-year memory comes back after talking about it.
Yeah.
Being at the Garden. Well, it was a Fleet Center at the time, but yeah, Riley, thank you so much for being on the show. And if everybody should know, check out Nasty Knuckles podcast with Riley and Derek Settlemyre. Good dude and a lot of knowledge, just like you. That kid probably knows how to tape your stick, how to sharpen your skates the right way, and check out his skate company too, Settlemyre Skate Sharpening. So again, Riley, thanks for being on the show, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too, brother. All right, thanks for being on, and I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
On his Facebook page and subscribe to his podcast at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Let's go.
We tell them no.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.